Well, boys, it's fair to say here that the love affair is definitely over between these two.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
No spending beyond reasonable means and a balanced budget. Please, please, oh, please, as of course the two are fighting now more than ever as the Ruskies are getting involved here and actually offering Elon Musk political asylum. Will he need it? What's going on here? As the Russian offensive in Ukraine just took a major turn, as clearly right now the escalations are going to be continuing. They are going to be vast. They are going to be severe. I wanted to talk a little bit about Trump, Elon, and how the Russians are getting involved here with a bigger perspective, with the long-term trajectory of how this geopolitical conundrum mess is only going to get that much messier in this video. If you appreciate our many years of predicting all of this and calling it out, subscribe, click the notification button, as of course it's pretty clear we're living in very entertaining times, to say the least.
Everybody hurt.
And this tear here will have implications, especially when it comes to satellite space tech, as Donald Trump wants to build a golden dome. Elon Musk has a lot of keys to some important tech that could be utilized for that project, and many other projects, including, of course, a project that a lot of people don't really know about. A lot of it is kind of secret when it comes to satellite weaponized type of tech and information gathering that right now is being utilized in Ukraine to its fullest extent and making the biggest type of impact here. Now, there's two individuals that hold a lot of cards against each other. How will they use it? How will they utilize it? As of course, there was supposed to be a phone call between Donald Trump and Elon Musk that looks like was just canceled, as we have this reporting from sources within the White House.
You call the president on his cell phone at 6:45, he picks up.
Yeah, he picked up. Look, there's been reporting out there that the White House is working to put together a call between Elon Musk and Donald Trump to broker some kind of peace. I asked Donald Trump about that. He said he's not particularly interested in talking to Elon Musk. He said Elon wants to talk to him. He's not ready to talk to Musk, who he called a man who has lost his mind.
They have a lot of leverage over each other.
Oh, there's no question about that. Look, Elon Musk, obviously the richest man on the planet, the biggest Republican donor in the history of Republican donors.
Yep, and that donor is gone. Will the space tech be gone too? As we saw Elon Musk specifically just kind of hint and then say, I'm taking away my space tech. And then say, no, I'll keep it up. As of course, the Russians are now getting involved. Before talking about the Russians and their major offensive in this Ukrainian conflict that we just saw here, we wanted to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that, of course, is Monetary Gold. I really like gold, especially in these very kind of unstable times that all of us are kind of dealing with. As of course, there's a well-known saying on Wall Street, sell in May and go away. This year, even the big players are echoing that sentiment. Bank of America and UBS are both urging caution, advising investors to sell the rally. Markets are still struggling to regain their footing. We've seen over $11 trillion in wealth erased from U.S. equities, and the broader economic outlook remains uncertain. Historical periods like this have often led to increased central bank intervention, which more often than not means more money printing and a weaker dollar. In uncertain environments, one asset has shown remarkable resilience over thousands of years: physical gold. TD Securities points out that the gold remains underowned by institutional standards, and Goldman Sachs is projecting a possible rise to $4,000 an ounce by 2026. If you're looking for stability in turbulent times, owning physical gold can offer a level of diversification and protection that paper assets simply can't. Here's the next step. Call Monetary Gold at 1-888-443-4164. Ask how you can hold physical gold through a tax-advantaged gold IRA and what incentives they're offering. Again, that is 1-888-443-4164. Let them know Luke sent you, and we thank them for, of course, working with us and sponsoring this particular video. Now, let's get to it, as of course we have this from the Moscow Times, describing how Russia could give Elon Musk political asylum. And with the way that this kind of conflict is heating up with Donald Trump talking about cutting all of Elon Musk's government contracts. I mean, Elon Musk made the vast majority of his money through government contracts. With Elon Musk having such a major role in the national security state, especially with Starlink and satellite communications, it would be advantageous for Russia to say, yeah, Elon, come on over here. If this MAGA civil war unfolds, and there was supposed to be a phone call. The phone call never happened. There was supposed to be a de-escalation of tensions, which you kind of saw from Elon Musk on Twitter last night. But there's a big possibility here that this is going to escalate. And listen. There's a big probability that we're going to see this potentially play out here. Let's just be real, especially with just how crazy and turbulent 2025 has been, how unpredictable it has been. There's a possibility, as Newsweek is reporting, that Russia is offering political asylum to Elon Musk over the Trump feud. A Russian official said that the nation could be offering American billionaire Elon Musk political asylum over his fierce dispute with U.S. President Donald Trump. The U.S. president and the world's richest man have had a dramatic fallout, leaving many wondering what will come of the relationship. The comments come as tensions between Washington and Moscow remain high, as ceasefire talks for the Russian-Ukraine war have stalled. No, they're over. They're not happening. Vladimir Putin went to Ukraine. They had a 90-minute negotiation, right? That's because on the eve of that negotiations, the Ukrainian decided to do a major sabotage attack and violate a nuclear treaty with the Russians that had a lot of their nuclear arsenal planes just destroyed and bombed with these drone bombs. But when we look at the little progress that has been made here, there definitely isn't going to be any progress from here on out. Let's just be real with ourselves here. The Russians are answering back very seriously. We'll talk about the Russian answer in a little bit here, but Donald Trump specifically said something has happened to Vladimir Putin while talking about how he previously had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin. Now, obviously, that's not the case now, and the Russians that are being obliterated by Elon Musk's Starlink tech. There's been a back and forth between Elon Musk and the Russians. The Russians are threatening to, of course, destroy his satellites because the satellites are being used for military purposes. The Ukrainians want to use it for offensive purposes. Some people say that they have already done that. Elon Musk has said that he will only allow them to use it for defensive purposes. The Ukrainians were mad at Elon Musk for that for some reason. Elon Musk, by the way, coming out and talking about the peace deal that he proposed, if the Ukrainians would have listened to him instead of attacking him many years ago when he did, the situation would have been way better off for them and Europe and the world, in my particular opinion. But we have the former Russian president, Medvedev, coming out and saying that Newsweek says he's kind of mocking them. In a way, he is, but he's saying that he's offering to negotiate a peace deal between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Now, you know, when the Russians are saying, hey, we'll broker a peace deal between you guys, as Trump hasn't been able to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine here. There's still some questions about Donald Trump's knowledge and involvement in the potential Ukrainian sabotage operation. Some questions still remain there, and there's some mixed reporting about what's really going on here. As of course, I think a lot of MAGA supporters and Donald Trump supporters are forgetting to look into the possibility of the maximum pressure campaign that Donald Trump could be utilizing right now against the Russians that, of course, have not really been playing ball with the latest negotiations. Of course, the Ukrainians didn't kind of abide by the negotiations the first time around. Now the Russians aren't. As right now, it looks like we are seeing the first type of retaliation from the Russians against the sabotage attacks that were done against them. As you are seeing right now, the waves of missiles and drones that were just being shot out last night against Kiev, many other cities around Ukraine, as we have seen one of the biggest military operations and bombardments so far of this conflict, as Vladimir Putin has declared Ukraine a terrorist state, and that, quote, he will treat them accordingly, as he described how some of his citizens were injured and had lost their lives in sabotage attacks that have happened inside of Russia by the Ukrainians. Now, as we're getting reports here, this was a massive strike. Some would say the biggest strike so far, as this was a large-scale drone and missile attack that's seen many parts of Ukraine just absolutely blanketed with munitions that were flying all throughout its country. As, of course, this was Ukraine last night. Air raid alerts all throughout the night here, as missile defense systems were having a very difficult time keeping up with the barrage of missiles that were flying from Russian-held territories, as we were also getting reports of nuclear bombers, strategic bombers, flying overhead, specifically over Odessa and Kiev, as everyone was kind of waiting, seeing what were the latest type of weaponry systems that the Russians would be using here. Now, the Russians launched 407 drones and fired 45 missiles at Ukraine last night. There's reports that about 200 of those drones and 30 of those missiles were intercepted. And we're finding out that a lot of them weren't, as a lot of them were able to, of course, fly through the missile defense systems that weren't able to keep up with the barrage of missile systems. And we have seen this type of form of strategy by the Russians recently, which is worth considering and talking about here when it comes to this conflict, when it comes to this war, because when you look at air defense systems, they can only do so much. And when you send a barrage of multiple missiles, of multiple systems, all at once in the air here, the defense system is going to have to pick which one they're going to go after. There's also reports of the Russians putting up fake munitions out there in order to, of course, keep the missile defense systems occupied. And then when the fake explosives get hit, the fake missiles get hit, that's when they send in the real ones, and the defensive systems cannot keep up here. As Phoenix Ammunition keeps talking about, how the numbers game is not going to work out for Ukraine's favor, as Lockheed Martin can only produce around 35 to 40 Patriot interceptor missiles per month. Russia is building 60 to 7 Iskander ballistic missiles per month, and dozens of Caliber and other type of cruise missiles that are being fired into Ukraine right now. This is, as he says, a matter of logistics and industrial capacity here, as the Russians have shown themselves to have a far more cheaper and quicker production line with its military-industrial complex than, of course, the United States here. Now, the Ukrainians are still hitting back, specifically against a lot of the energy infrastructure of Russia, as they're trying to launch kind of a more sabotage type of operation against them in order to financially cripple them. As in Russia, a coal enrichment plant, one of the largest and most advanced enterprises in Russia, was just hit by some type of Ukrainian munition. Now, we got this reporting from the Atlantic here, which I think is a little bit hypocritical, because we're getting sources within the White House talking about how Donald Trump saw the sabotage attack by the Ukrainians as, quote, badass. And it does make sense, especially when you see his kind of silence on the matter and on the situation, not really kind of speaking out against it, but probably something that he listen, let's just be real here. There's a big chance of probability he gave the silent go-ahead to. The Ukrainians said that they informed him. The White House said that he wasn't informed. But if he wasn't informed, Trump would be pissed. Like, why are you sabotaging my peace deals? Why are you escalating this conflict? As I think there's a different strategy at play here that I think is worth considering that a lot of people on the right aren't thinking about. And that is the fact that Donald Trump sees Putin as a player that doesn't want to negotiate, doesn't want to end this conflict. So he's saying, let's add maximum pressure and pain and suffering to the Russians to bring them to the negotiations table. That seems to have backfired, and the Russians declared Ukraine a terrorist state, and therefore the situation now will be escalating from here. The Atlantic writes, Ukraine got a major battle victory. Trump is not happy. Trump shouldn't be happy, because this kind of like destroys his negotiations, right? The peace deals are kind of done. they're defunct here. Trump told Zelensky and Putin that they're going to have to reach a peace deal themselves. And there was a bombshell phone call between the two, and he just walked away. Listen, Donald Trump walked away from the peace deals and negotiations here. Let's just be real with ourselves here. Now, the United States still is involved here and helping plot and orchestrate a lot of these sabotage attacks that Ukraine would not be able to do if it wasn't for direct U.S. intelligence help that I would say probably is also directing a lot of these sabotage and major actions here. Let's just be real with ourselves. Now, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Is he just being kept out of the loop here? I don't think so. The Ukrainians just signed a major deal with the United States. Trump says, I'm washing my hands of this. I'm not helping you guys negotiate. I'm just gonna leave you guys to figure it out themselves here. And then, as Donald Trump just said, with the German political leadership at the Oval Office, that he's with Ukraine.
Will you continue to support Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm with Ukraine. We just signed a big deal on rare earth with Ukraine, and you know what? I'm for stopping killing, really.
Yeah, that's the big kind of disclaimer here that I think is the sentiment that we all need. But Donald Trump saying, I'm not negotiating anymore. You're telling me with the attacks that have all the hallmarkers of U.S. intelligentsia on it, U.S. intelligentsia operations on it, that Donald Trump had no involvement here? I don't buy that. Now, Zelensky even came out. He said he wants to be the big Israel. And the ties between Donald Trump and Zelensky are expanding, are growing. And it wouldn't be advantageous for Zelensky to say, screw you, Trump, we're acting on our own. No, the United States still is heavily supporting Ukraine. We have entered a very critical stage of this conflict that a lot of people just do not understand, a situation that is far more dangerous and reckless. And I don't see Ukraine acting on their own here. And they haven't been acting on their own from the very beginning here. The United States is involved here. This could be just Donald Trump saying, yeah, let's just maximum pressure. Let's see what's going to happen here. I see Donald Trump calling some of the shots here. And how could you not, especially with how involved all of us are in this perpetual conflict? And listen, Donald Trump is his own man, right? But at the same time, his behavior throughout the last few years should make you wonder what's really going on here, as I still see him being a major shot caller here. And when we look at the latest kind of escalations, when we look at the latest type of scenario that's kind of unraveling and unfolding here, there actually is a possibility where Elon Musk could be fleeing to Russia. This would be a huge significant gain. And I think the Russians are seeing, wow, look at this advanced space tech. We want this space nerd here with us. Listen, Elon Musk has been Elon Musk has been a major part in Ukraine's defense. Elon Musk probably no longer will be playing a major key role in setting up the Golden Dome, in setting up a lot of the kind of space tech adventures that a lot of them teased, a lot of them talked about. I mean, they talked about specifically exploring Mars and the type of stuff that they talked about with missile defense, satellite type of systems that the Russians are building right now. The Russians, they're not just advancing in the Arctic, by the way. There's a lot of stuff heating up in the Arctic. It's not just the temperature, according to the Sunday Guardian. There could be a pole shift that probably is happening, and we're probably going into a mini ice age, by the way. That's just a separate topic that I just want to sprinkle in on there. Just polar shift. Oh, yeah. Mini ice age. Well, yeah. Trump has hinted at this, too, as there are significant military installations being built in the Arctic. There's a lot of very rich natural resources. This is why Donald Trump wants to gobble up Canada and Greenland, because he sees it as one of the most important territories, especially with all the trade routes that go through it, as part of their larger national defense. This is why Donald Trump came to Canada recently and said, look, the Golden Dome, we could protect you too if you become a state. Will they become a state? That's a question that a lot of people are kind of asking themselves here. The tensions are rising up in the Arctic, And especially if there's a pole shift, I mean, that's going to be game-changing. I do believe there's probably going to be a pole shift. I do believe there's going to be a mini ice age. I do believe that sometime in the near future, and it could be decades from now, who knows, but there's going to be something major. And I think securing a lot of territories for the United States for its national security, especially as this battle heats up and gets crazier and crazier and crazier, I think that would be advantageous for the United States here. What do you think? Will Russia get Elon? Let me know. Press 1 if you think Russia will get Elon. Press 2 if you think Russia will not get Elon with the way that things are unfolding. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Thank you to our sponsor today, Monetary Gold. We appreciate them. Check them out. And we appreciate you guys watching and subscribing this independent media organization. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.